What's up everybody, it's Jay here, and today I'm going to be talking about, what am I talking about? Sorry. I'm going to talk about statistics and the trans community and all that kind of jazz, because recently there's been a lot of stuff going around about statistics within the trans community, and I just wanted to just make some few points, yes. So first of all, the reason why I am talking about this is because I keep seeing this post on Tumblr about how many people in the US are trans. Because basically they're like, 5 years ago we did this study and 700,000 people were trans. And now they've done the study and it's 1.4 million people, which is literally a doubling of the trans population. And I find it very hard to believe that the trans population suddenly doubled. But that's just that's an aside. I have a lot of issues with the way people research statistics for trans people, specifically how many people are trans, because a lot of the time these research statistics about how many people are trans aren't done for trans people. And what I mean by that is they're not done for the betterment of the community. They're done because oftentimes people do it to invalidate trans people and make it seem like there are less trans people than there are. Obviously, that's not how it always happens, but most often that is how it happens, and it's done in a very inaccurate way. Because oftentimes people will either gather their information based on, okay, how many people in our country have had bottom surgery this year? How many people in our country have had bottom surgery full stop? Stuff like how many people are on hormones? How many people are getting any type of gender-based surgery? How many people have gotten their gender legally recognised? How many people have all these sorts of things that not all trans people will do or are required to do, which is kind of stupid. It's very much that a lot of the stuff that revolves around medical stuff, not everybody is going to want medical stuff for a start. Not everybody who wants it has access to it. And then with the gender recognition thing, not everywhere recognizes non-binary genders, so suddenly you have non-binary genders totally ruled out of the equation. Sometimes these surveys don't take into account non-binary people, even though non-binary people do fall under the trans umbrella. Whether they choose to identify as trans or not is another story. Because obviously everybody's an entity is their own, and they can use whatever words they want for themselves. But that's just in general a problem, that the statistics may not be entirely accurate because of the way they are gathered. And I feel most people are aware of that statistics aren't always going to be 100% accurate unless it is the kind of thing that you can really, really accurately measure. But the identity of people isn't really something that you can super accurately measure. I don't like how oftentimes the fact that there being more or less trans people can be used to convey a point for transphobes and bigots. Particularly I hate how if they find a source saying that hardly anyone is trans, then you get something along the lines of hardly anyone is trans, it's not common, why do we need to cater to such a small group of people? Or if they get a result saying that loads of people are trans, and they're because trans people are getting visibility, more and more people are identifying as trans, and now it's a big problem and it's negative and blah blah blah. I feel with a doubling of trans people within 5 years in the States, I feel that's not accurate. And what I mean by that, when I say that I feel it's not accurate, I feel I have no doubt that the number that they gathered has changed, because it obviously has. But I feel the explanation behind it is not that more people now identify as trans, it's that more people were able to put themselves forward as identifying as trans for the purpose of this study. Because obviously if you're not out, you might not be able to take part in a study like that and put yourself out there as a trans person, particularly since trans people have had a lot of visibility in the last I would say year or two, particularly with regards to Caitlyn Jenner in the US. A lot of people would feel more comfortable putting themselves out there as a trans person. So even if they were trans at the time of the even if they identified as trans at the time of the first study, they might not have been able to put themselves forward as a trans person. And so, like, I feel like people will misconstrue the results here and be like, trans people, like, there's twice as many trans people as there was before because of trans visibility, and it's like making more people trans. But I really don't believe that. And I also don't like how it only took into account adults. Like, trans young people are a huge part of the trans community. The majority of trans people either are young people, and obviously that is an extension of the fact that I am a young person, but I do feel like the trans young people's community, the young trans community, in Ireland at least, is huge. And it's a lot bigger than people give it credit for. I also feel like the whole, like, the statistic that, like, comes out of that US study would be 0.6% of the population. I really don't feel like that's accurate, because I know from personal experience at the school that I go to, which I'm not going to tell you where I go to school, of the 150 people in my year, myself included, there's 4 trans people. And, like, that's how it is. Like, that's 2.6% of the people in my school year. And there was a study done in either Australia or New Zealand, or maybe it was a mix of both, I can't remember. I'll try and find it if I can, that said something along the lines of 2.5% of young people identified as trans. And that sounds a lot more accurate to what I've experienced in my life as to how many people identify as trans. So, like, aside from the fact that obviously the statistics about how many people are trans can be inaccurate, there is also the problem of people using statistics to talk about people regretting being trans. So I have a window open here about the TSER, which is this Trans Student Education Resource, which is a great website and I really like it, about the myth of trans regret. And it's a poster that they have that has like all this different like sourced information on it. 94% of trans people reported an improvement in their quality of life due to transitioning. I agree with that. That's how I feel. 96% answered that their sense of well-being improved. Obviously, like, if you had other issues going on in your life that were affecting you more than your trans identity, then maybe you wouldn't have felt like your well-being improved. Obviously, again, like with both of those things, like if there was other stuff going on in your life that was affecting you regardless of your trans identity, you wouldn't necessarily report the same level of improvement as other people. Transitioning doesn't make you depressed, which is how other people, like, that's another one of the things on this. 9 of 10 responded that their overall personality improved due to transition. Again, I would agree with that. I feel like transitioning brought out parts of me that, like, brought out the more positive parts of me that were being hidden away by the negative feelings that I was having by not being out, and lessened a lot of my negative traits because I was no longer being excessively negative because of my trans identity. 85% described their emotional stability as improved and 11 reported no change, which means that you have 4% of people who felt like it didn't improve. That means that 4% felt like there was a negative effect to transition. 4%. If only 4% of people who tried some kind of medication felt negative side effects, that would be a fucking miracle drug. Like, if 85% of people reported that a medication was effective for them, it would be a miracle drug. 96% of people were overall satisfied with their transition. 97 were satisfied with hormone therapy. 96 were satisfied with chest surgery. And 90% were satisfied with genital surgery. If any other thing had success rates this high, it would be a miracle. But just because it's about being trans, suddenly that's a bad thing? Like, personally, I feel satisfied with hormones. I'm not entirely satisfied with the doctor who gave them to me, but that's like a personal thing, and that doesn't have an effect on how satisfied I am with being on hormones. I have not gotten anything negative that I didn't expect or that I felt was highly problematic for me. Like, the worst thing I can think of that's come out of hormones is acne. I definitely agree that my overall quality of life has improved. I really want to get top surgery, and I would estimate that I will be satisfied with that. I already know that I don't want to get bottom surgery, so I won't be satisfied with it because I won't get it. But overall, I would say my quality of life has improved. And that is definitely echoed by the statistics that the majority of trans people feel this way. So I don't know why so often people try to use statistics about, like, they use selective statistics to harm us. And that's not right. People try to use statistics to harm the trans community when in reality, like, people, there's no reason behind it. But either way, why people are transphobic is a video for another day. But yes, thank you for watching. If you like this video, please click the like button. Comment box is open below for any suggestions because it's the 5th of July, which means I still have to make another 26 videos this month. And please subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching and I'll see you next time. Bye.